Welcome back! Today on Dialed In DIY, we're going to take a look at my Schrödinger's cat and open up the box. Yes, today I'm actually going to take some big words and complex ideas to answer a very simple question. What the heck happened to the Dialed In DIY videos lately? And for me, that answer has quite literally been sealed in a box, waiting for me to discover its fate. My only problem is I'm not sure I'm ready to deal with the reality that I'm going to find once that box is open. Yeah, I know there's some that are ready to criticize me already because I am truly oversimplifying a pretty significant scientific concept here, but I am doing it for a simple purpose of avoiding my reality. At the end of the video, I will explain a little bit more, and if that's a boring idea to you, feel free to skip that part. But for now, here's the basics. You may not have heard of Schrödinger's cat in one of your classes, but you may very well have heard it in the media. In fact, it's been used as an analogy in a lot of places, and it will give you an idea as to what the basic premise is. Essentially, there's a bunch of dangerous stuff in a box that can have an effect one upon the other, and ultimately potentially have an effect on a cat. You just don't know what the outcome to the cat is until you open the box. So in the premise, the cat is both alive and dead at the same time. Yeah, it's a really bizarre concept to try to grasp, but essentially it's the observation of what ends up being inside the box that sets the final state of the contents of the box. So, what does that mean to me and my Schrödinger's cat? In a nutshell, my video editing computer died, and I spent a much longer than necessary amount of time having to figure out what the problem was and getting the parts so that I could fix it. What took up most of the time was a supplier that created fits for me because they weren't able to send me the right product even though they said they could. Well, I did eventually get a box that supposedly has the right part in it. And the funny part to me was I actually did spend a couple of days feeling a little bit more content because until I opened the box, I could be comfortable or confident or reasonably happy that I had the right part, knowing that I also might not have the right part. Hence, Schrödinger's cat. But no sense delaying the inevitable anymore. Let's get this box open and see if the newest motherboard is the one that's gonna fix my computer. While I do that, want to hear a funny little story of irony? The motherboard that I needed for this computer is no longer made, so I was gonna order a refurbished one instead of getting a different new kind so that I could be quicker about getting my computer back up and running and making sure that the software and everything worked seamlessly, kind of like a plug and play. So yeah, that whole quick part didn't really work out so well, but this time, the third time, seems to be the charm. This motherboard is the exact match for the part number that I needed for my computer, and I am extremely cautiously optimistic about how this is going to turn out. So I guess that brings us back to the part where we have to talk about Dr. Schrödinger a little bit more here and find out if he was just some kind of a mad scientist who liked to torture cats. Well, no, he really wasn't. But that does lead us to that fun part of the story I mentioned where we get to use some unnecessarily big words and explain the concept in a little bit more detail. Feel free to skip this if it seems boring. So now let's return to that odd box of parts and kind of explain what this whole thing was about, because it's essentially a theoretical experiment that was designed to explain what was perceived to be a flawed interpretation of quantum superposition. Yeah, it really doesn't help clear up any of the confusion, does it? Yeah, you thought that whole alive and dead at the same time thing was kind of weird? A little bit confusing? See if you can track with this one, because this is also fun. Just for fun, let's go ahead and play this out. So essentially, subatomic particles can be considered to be in multiple states at the same time. So, what's with the dangerous stuff in a box? Well, you have to think about it this way. You've got a box that conceals what you don't know comes out at the end of the process. You've got a little bit of a radioactive material that may or not be measurable at a rate of decay within a period of an hour. But once a Geiger counter measures it, it will release a hammer that will smash open a container of poison, which will have an effect on a cat. The reality is, that cat may already be dead or it may be alive in this hypothetical situation, but until you open it, you don't know. I always just love to learn some new stuff, and this kind of falls right in line with that. And the whole idea of quantum mechanics has a big impact on the future of computing with the whole concept of quantum computers. So, having a little bit of knowledge is kind of a cool thing. Also just so happens that I like to use an extremely oversimplified reference like this to make myself feel better about outcomes that I'm not yet sure are gonna be what I want. In this particular case, it just so happened to be it's exactly what I wanted, and this video is my first video back on the repaired computer. Thanks for stopping by Dialed In DIY and watching my uniquely different video today. Well, yes, this is not like my typical videos. I do really appreciate you sticking with me and coming back. I do love to make new stuff out of old stuff, repurpose parts, or just find ways to fix things that were no longer working, like my Schrödinger's cat today. Got my computer back up and running and working, and I'll be making plenty more Dialed In DIY videos in the future.